How's it going, folks? It is Super Mr. O'Neill here, and I'm going to give you my top 15, you probably just saw all of them there, trade paperbacks and OGNs of 2014. Seeing as 2014 is pretty much at its end, and most people tend to recollect on the year and talk about their favorite ongoings and their favorite comics that they read of the year. And last year I did a blog post going through my top, I believe it was my top 15 or top 20 favorite single issues and, well, ongoings that I read in single issues. And I realized, like, there are a lot of great series that I read, not in single issues, but I read in collected form, you know, trade paperbacks and all that. And so maybe some people might be reading that and saying, like, oh, you didn't read this, you didn't read that. Well, I might have, not saying I did, but I might have, but probably in a different format. So I decided to do a list of the top trades that I read, compiling stuff that I trade weight, and as well as I lumped in OGNs and hardcovers and omnibus editions and all that good stuff. Now keep in mind, this list, the only criteria for it is that the collection had to come out this year, 2014. So that means some of the books on this list, the things being collected in the edition, are not necessarily from 2014. But as I realized when I was going through this list, I didn't read too many OGNs this year, which is something that I feel is kind of unfortunate. My goal for 2015 is to read more OGNs and read more alternative stuff, and not just Image. I read way too much Image, but that's a good thing because they are putting out the best books going right now. So yeah, without further ado, here are my top 15 trades and OGNs of 2014. So coming in at number 15, we have David Lapham's old crime noir series, Murder Me Dead. It was a mini-series that he self-published in between doing Stray Bullets in the 2000s, I believe. And it's basically him doing an old-style Maltese Falcon-esque crime noir film. The story was okay. It had me until the ending. The ending was kind of eh, but it was still a pretty good narrative through and through. Main thing from it was Lapham's amazing art and layouts and all that good stuff. At number 14, we have the latest volume of Prophet that came out in 2014, Volume 3, Empire. It is Brandon Graham and crew Wrecking House, and it is a damn good series, and I just cannot wait until everything is collected, and I cannot wait until they go from Prophet on to 8 House, their new collective sci-fi universe that Brandon Graham and a ton of creators are going to be collaborating on. At number 13 is the newest volume of Manhattan Projects by Jonathan Hickman and Nick Pitara, Volume 4. Nothing much really needs to be said about Manhattan Projects other than crazy science happens and aliens and people get killed. Moving on. At number 12, we have Casanova Luxuria. This is a series that happened in the early 2000s. It started at Image, then Matt Fraction, along with Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon, but he did some fill-in issues, or more or less one-shots. Brought it over to Icon when Matt Fraction became exclusive over at Marvel, and now it's back at Image. It's home. And they are reprinting the original stuff and putting them out in these nice new hardcover editions. I snatched up the first hardcover. I quite enjoyed it. Pretty good stuff. Can't wait to read what's next. At number 11 is Deadly Class Volume 1 Reagan Youth by Rick Remender, Wes Craig, and colors by Lee Luthridge. It's the most punk rock book out on the market, although there is now a comic called Punks the Comic, or Punk Rock the Comic. Haven't read it, but anyway. Essentially, it follows this kid named Marcos Lopez, I believe is his name, and he's in the 1980s. His parents were killed after a mental patient who was let out under Reagan's bullshit, you know, ableist doctrines, letting out people who actually needed help in mental asylums, jumped off a bridge and fell on them, and essentially he gets taken into this assassin school for kids, and it's just this really fucked up high school drama, but except everyone is trained in very deadly combat and can kill you just by looking at you. Very good, very nihilistic, very fucked up, very worth it. Check it out. And at number 10 is the Planetary Omnibus by Warren Ellis and John Cassaday with colors by Laura Martin. Oh, goodness gracious me. Planetary is so fucking good, and I'm sorry it took me so long to get to it. I got the first trade way back, and then I heard they were going to be doing an omnibus, and so I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and then I finally got the money, and I bought it, and I sped through the damn thing, and let me tell you, it is one of my favorite series now, like top 5, has to be, easily. So, yeah. At number 9, we have Brian Lee O'Malley's new graphic novel, Seconds. I quite enjoyed it, thought it was great. Ending kind of spoiled me a little bit. I thought it was a little too, you know, picture perfect. But other than that, it was a pretty damn good ride. It was very, very fun read. Amazing art, amazing coloring by Nathan Fairbairn. Fantastic. And all in all, it was a pretty good follow-up to the Scott Pilgrim series. Like, that's something that a lot of people were saying. Will O'Malley follow up the Scott Pilgrim series? Will he follow it up? And, well, I think he did, in a pretty damn earnest way. So, Seconds, Brian Lee O'Malley, great book. At number 8 is The Fifth Beatle, the Brian Epstein story by Vivek J. Tiwari, with art by Andrew Robinson, and also some fill-in art by Kyle Baker. Holy crap. I love the Beatles. I think there isn't anyone out there who hates the Beatles. Like, I don't think there's that person out there, and if they are, they're a dick. But reading this book was so fascinating because there are so many books that are done to death about the Beatles and their lives and stuff like that. But here we are learning about the manager of the Beatles, someone who is very fascinating and someone who was kind of mysterious because he was a closeted gay man in the 60s where anti-sodomy laws were very prevalent in England. He was Jewish. I mean, anti-Semitism was very much a thing. Hell, still very much a thing anywhere you go. And, yeah, it's something that really, like, put him up and really wanted to celebrate the man. It wasn't 110% factually accurate. It alluded at things that were factually accurate. It was more of a fun ride and more of a portrait painting of a man. And I have to say, they succeeded on all fronts. It was very operatic, very play-like. Cannot recommend it enough. Check it out. At number 7 is the Young Avengers Omnibus by Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey. Goodness gracious me. I am an idiot for not jumping on this series when it came out in issues. I am a total fucking idiot. And let me tell you, I don't know what I was gonna say. Fuck it. Do it live. Basically, Young Avengers is just this really crazy out there story about this parasitic mother from another dimension, and then the Young Avengers have to get other Young Avengers from different dimensions. Basically, it just looks pretty and it's fucking cool. The thing about this Young Avengers story arc was that it wasn't this complex story arc. No, it was just fun. It was just fucking fun. It looked cool. The writing was top-notch. It was just fucking great. And anyone who hates on that, that's all I have to say. It's a quote from me. At number 6 is Rat Queens by And I have to say, when this book started, I didn't know, like, I was like, okay, cool, this looks like it would be interesting. And then when the first trade came out, I read it, and I devoured it, and I fucking loved it. I still haven't gotten the second trade. I'm not sure if it's out yet. But if it is, I will definitely be picking it up soon. Rat Queens was just fun from start to finish. It was just utterly fantastic. It was funny. The characters are profound, and it's just fucking great. It's basically if they made the movie Bridesmaids, but instead it's fucking D&D, and they're killing orcs. It's fucking dope. So yeah.
And now we made it to the top 5, motherfucker!
And at number 5, we have Shudder by Joe Keating and Leila Del Duca. Oh my god, where do I begin with this comic? I don't know. The beauty of Shudder is that I don't really know what to call it. It's like an adventure comic. It's got some comedic elements here and there. I mean, it's not totally over the top, but it's comedic elements like, say, Rat Queens is. But they definitely are there. And it's like part like Franco-Belgian inspired, which makes perfect sense because Joe Keating is a huge Francophile, big Hair Gay fan, big Mobius fan. I mean, well, who isn't? And it's just such a cool book. I read the first trade paperback, Wanderlust, not really knowing what Shudder was, other than someone giving it the elevator pitch of, this is the Indiana Jones for the 21st century, and I was just kind of like, okay, cool, I guess. And basically what you have is the main character, whose name I'm blanking on, I'm terrible for that, her entire family is basically a huge line of explorers and adventurers. And she's the next in line, and eventually it gets to a point where she's not an adventurer anymore. And then things happen, certain shadowy figures come into play, and basically some revelations are made about her life and that she never even knew about, and she calls into question her deceased father, who she looked up to and admired, and she kind of looks at him and was like, maybe he was actually like a piece of shit. And I have to say, like, the scene where it flashed back to his death really kind of tore my heart out. That's one scene that really, you know, kind of pulled my heart out of my chest. Another thing too is that this book is so fucking imaginative to look at. Leila Del Duca, her artwork is incredible. It's so unique. She has like I can't describe her art. I can't compare her with anyone because it's so unique. A part of me wants to think of Fiona Staples, but at the same time, I know that their styles are two vividly different art styles, but maybe in the fact that Del Duca is drawing these monsters and these weird humanoid creatures, these anthropomorphic creatures and stuff like that, and Fiona Staples pretty much does that on Saga as well. It's just a tour de force of art, and also the gore in this book is fucking nuts. After reading the first trade paperback, it left me at a point where I was like, fuck, now what? And you can either get there's two different ways to get the, you know, I want more reaction. There's the I want more in that there wasn't enough, and then there's the I want more in that, oh my god, I cannot wait until the next thing comes out for this series or whatever, so I can absorb it up and just eat it like fucking spoiled dinner by Lord Jesus. I went full Cape Breton there. You never go full caper. Jesus. And number 4 is The Wrenchies by Ferelden. Known mostly for Prophet, and he did a few of his own indie things. This is an OGN that he had in the works for a while. It's published by First Second Press, which is known for publishing Battling Boy, Boxers and Saints, and American Born Chinese, among many other things. And also this one, Summer, which I need to read. But anyway, I digress. The Wrenchies is a very weird superhero comic. And I say superhero very loosely because, well, it's one part the Goonies, one part fucking, like, multiverse shit, another part this kid growing up as, like, a sad nerd, and all equal parts. It's fucking amazing. The thing about the Wrenchies that is so good is that it's up for interpretation. It doesn't handhold you. It's very proud of its esoteria. It's very proud of the fact that this isn't a book for everyone. It's not trying to be for everybody, and in that, I think it becomes a very compelling and very interesting and intricate read. Basically, you start off with these kids in a post-apocalyptic wasteland who call themselves the Wrenchies. They're a gang of kids who basically fight these old, weird zombie adults, and they name themselves the Wrenchies after this comic book that they all liked. And then you cut to this other universe, this other world, where there's this kid who's wearing a superhero costume, who's like obsessed with superhero comics and is like just this huge nerd and has no life and is pretty sad and he gets bullied and all that stuff. He then gets sucked into that world, and then the Wrenchies from the comic that they read get sucked into the apocalyptic wasteland to help them fight these monsters. And it's, to me, it was a really good book about, you know, loss of innocence, growing up, how adults can be pretty shitty, and really about just escapism. And it's kind of like Flex Mentallo after 5 hits of crystal meth. In other words, it's fucking amazing and you should read it. At number 3 is Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. Do I even need to talk about Sex Criminals? Do I even need to say what it is? Do I even need to say who Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky are? Okay, there's like 2 of you out there who don't know what the fuck Sex Criminals is. Okay. 2 people fuck, and they freeze time, and they rob a bank. There you go. There you go. Go out in the world, sonny. Make your daddy proud.
Also, it's fucking amazing. God.
At number 2, we have Pretty Deadly by Kelly Sue DeConnick, Emma Rios, and Jordi fucking Belair on colors. Oh, this book is so fucking good. Okay, so essentially what you have is Kelly Sue writing a weird western. Back when other genres were more prevalent than superhero comics, I believe in like the 1950s, you know, mid-50s, you know, post-World War II, baby boomer era, superhero comics were just like, pfft. And probably the biggest genres were like sci-fi, westerns, crime comics, romance, and etc. so forth. And Western Western had a subgenre called the Weird Western, which was mostly like a horror Western. And, you know, Jonah Hex did that, mostly, and they kind of brought that back a little bit with the Jonah Hex stuff. But for the most part, Weird Western is kind of, you know, there. Maybe East of West, I guess, could be called a Weird Western, but it's more of a sci-fi Western, which is different. But anyway, Pretty Deadly brings back the Weird Western, but it does it in a different way. Instead of going from mostly horror, it goes from really fantasy roots. You know, it feels so mythological. It feels so... it's just like... it's this giant fable that you're watching. You're seeing this weird mythology which has hints of, like, you know, Eastern European, you know, Asian, maybe even South American, you know, real life mythology roots, weaved into this comic, weaved into this world, where essentially you have this woman named Death-Faced Ginny who walks the earth. Well, if you call her out, you have to sing a song, and then she comes out kind of like a reverse Bloody Mary, and she defends you, and she has this skull on her face, and she's the daughter of Death, and she kind of scorns her father. And you just follow these cast of characters with these, like, you know, deity roots and stuff like that. And it's just so fresh feeling. It's just so interesting and so fresh. And not only that, you have Emma Rios at the top of her fucking game, man. Like, Emma Rios is utterly fantastic. I hope she gets any project she wants to work on, and I hope this is the main one that she wants to work on. And on top of that, you get Jordi fucking Belair, the queen of the color art, just laying down the colors and killing it. Lots of purples, lots of greens, lots of pinks, just weird color palettes that just get in your face and just look so fucking amazing. Pretty Deadly is so fucking good. When's it coming back? Please, Kelly Sue. Please. Please. I'm doing it. Please get Pretty Deadly back soon, please. Thank you. That's all. And at number 1, my favorite trade paperback slash OGN, well, it's pretty much a trade paperback or an omnibus, of 2014 is Stray Bullets, the Uber Alice edition by David Lapham and edited by Maria Lapham. Stray Bullets is one of those series that I always wanted to read. I never heard too much about it, but when I did, I heard nothing but amazing things. It was my white whale, if you will. It was something that I always wanted to try to read, just because whenever I heard about it, I heard nothing but these amazing things, but whenever I went to look for it, it was out of print. The back issues online were marked way the hell up. The trades and hardcovers that were put out, the very few, were ridiculously overpriced. And yeah, so I could not read it. And even then, it wasn't even available digitally. So finally, you can understand my, I guess you could say, excitement when it was announced that in March of 2014, Image Comics was going to be bringing back Stray Bullets and was going to put out a giant compendium edition with all of the issues included, including the final issue, number 41, which was coming out the same day, mind you, that finishes off the old series, as well as the same day they were putting out a first issue for the brand new series, Killers. Holy hell. That was insane. And when I finally got Stray Bullets Uber Alice edition, and when I read it, when I finally finished it in the summer, I went away loving it. honestly, Stray Bullets right now might be my favorite series of all time. That's saying a lot, considering that before that, I held The Sandman by Neil Gaiman up on that pedestal. Yeah, that's saying something. Stray Bullets, for those who are unaware, it's a noir series that started in the 1990s, written and drawn by Lapham, and essentially each issue is more or less written and drawn as a one-and-done issue, so basically it's a self-contained story. Ideally, you can start anywhere, but honestly, it's so much more fun to start at the beginning. It just makes it that much better. And it's one of those things that has a giant ensemble cast, and it just has so many different and memorable characters that whether they're focused on a lot or less or what have you, they make an impression on you, and they're just so fucking interesting. And not only that, but the story didn't even really start off with a protagonist to say, but now it pretty much has one in the most unlikely protagonist ever, Virginia Applejack, who started off in the series as like a 10-year-old girl who witnessed a murder and got very traumatized. And the thing about that is that you get to see her progression. She is as far from a stagnant character as you can get. She is such a well-written and, you know, interesting and fascinating and complex character. And it makes it perfect too because, you know, it's a girl, you know, it's a female, so there you go. Stray Bullets is just so fucking good. It's amazing. Honestly, I would recommend it to anyone. It's basically if Quentin Tarantino made a crime comic, that would be it. That's the comic. And if you don't want to read that, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you. For real. For real. So yeah. So, those were my top 15 trade paperbacks and graphic novels of 2014. Tune in next time. I'm going to be going through my top 20, yes, 20 ongoing series that I read in single issues, we'll just call it series, of 2014. It's going to be a doozy. Thanks for watching. What were your favorites of 2014? List them down below. Don't hate. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Spread the dialogue, spread the love. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my hands, but hey, I'm just gonna strike a pose in Vogue. Fuck it. Thank you. You have been great. Thank you for watching. Peace out.